They call him a street preacher, but you know what? He's for everybody. Pastor D's going to tell you something, man. He's going way beyond the street, but I know where his heart is. Pastor D, welcome to In the Upper Room.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me. I finally made it.
Yeah.
I consider this the big time.
Oh, man. Oh,
the
man.
upper room. That's the highest room you can be in.
No, that's the highest praise that you just gave us, Pastor. And, you know, Pastor, first of all, thank you again for allowing us to come, you know, into your sanctuary today. This is my first time here, even though we belong to sister churches, right?
Absolutely. Great Bishop Aretha Morton, my state bishop.
Yes.
With full gospel.
Right.
So you're home.
Yes, yes. I want to say thanks for one other thing as well. You know, through your television program, Holla Back. That's how I became familiar with you, and the forum that you had with the live phone lines, and you know the community could call in. I was listening, and this was before I ever became involved in television. And I called in, man, and you know, you guys give us shouts out. You let us speak our mind, and that's what this community needs. You know, we need people who will allow our voices to be heard.
Mm-hmm. The Holler Back format, I'm a fan of Mike Baisley, and I think that the radio format that he has, where people call in and talk to Mike Baisley on the air, has been a very powerful instrument. Gina Six is certainly an example of that. And radio hosts across the country, Steve Harvey and others, have benefited from it. And we thought around here, well, what if there were a television broadcast on Comcast 28 where people could call in and they could get their needs met right there live and on the air. Then the demand for Pastor D had grown to such a magnitude that we constantly search for ways to make me more accessible to average people, because everybody I serve does not attend my church, and I never wanted to be limited to the church within the walls. I always wanted to be available to the masses of people. And so Holla Back has served to be that instrument, and it's a lot of fun. It's real, it's raw, and it's revolutionary. No cut.
I know that's right, and that's the thing that is so attractive, because you know, people read stories, but those stories have been edited, and you know, and slants have been put on them.
Absolutely.
And you know, I don't want to say the news journal. You know, you read stories, and you say, this doesn't even sound like the situation that I was familiar with. You know,
it's control.
It's control.
Yeah. I've been a subject of print media years before my release from prison. I've been written about as an inmate. I'm probably one of the few formerly incarcerated people in the country who was as noted in print media as an incarcerated person as I am since being out, for writing books, writing plays, and then not just for the great stuff, but for being involved in riots and other negative things that have taken place during my incarceration. And so I learned early in my life, both as an incarcerated person and as the person I've become, that there are people whom God has chosen to shine a light on. And that person only gets to decide whether it's the glaring light of a locomotive that's coming to run over top of somebody, or a shining light that's set up on the top of the hill. But either way, the light's on you. So we've just chosen to be a shining light as opposed to the glaring light of the locomotive that I used to be.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And that's the other thing. You know, the way that you have managed to parlay your background and your experiences into amplifying this opportunity that you have now that that light is shining through you. You know, you're bringing a lot of people, you've brought a lot of people to Christ who may not have otherwise been reached. You've brought attention to issues that may not have been covered. You know, you've sounded the bell when it needed to be sounded. And myself not being one in the establishment, I heard it. You know, and I'm not ashamed to say I use you as a role model in a lot of instances when I do certain things. You know, and some of it's unconscious because I'm a sponge, and a lot of people who are coming behind you because you've been in this,
Sure.
you know, in this arena and in politics and public service for a long time. I'm just now cutting my teeth. A lot of us who are coming along, we model certain things after successes of other people.
Mike, I probably became aware of the magnitude of my own personal impact more in the last 5 years than I've ever been in my life. And it's a very humbling experience. As a result of the national role that I consequently play, I end up visiting a number of churches, prisons, institutions, schools, and communities across this country. When you walk into a auditorium of 5,000, 8,000 people, and they all know your name, and they're all excited that you're there, and people are walking up to you saying, I've been out of prison 5 years, and I've stayed out, and you're the flag that I saluted in order to successfully complete probation. It's very, very humbling experience. Now, there are those that will look at the faults in the man and say, well, how could you feel such a sense of grandeur and pride? And I look at it like the civil rights era. The Ku Klux Klan and the segregationists and the forces in America who did not want to see integration and did not want to see forward movement on the part of the Negro people were better organized, had more money, and they were certainly stronger politically and economically than the marchers and the poor whites and the spiritual people who were working for this great change in America. And yet it was the disorganized love that prevailed. So I've concluded that disorganized love is still better than organized hate. And so I'm a product of what I'll call disorganized love.
I know that's man, that is awesome. Seriously, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of things,
I don't think I've ever thought it before. It's the first time.
Well, that's good. That's good. That is the organic moment that we shared here.